Welcome to the Priory of Sacred Flames, the ground for ardent worshippers. Let's not waste any time and dive right in. Quick boss guides for Priory, let's go. This is a build-a-boss style encounter. Based on which two mini-bosses you've defeated, you'll lure the trusted guard away. Personally, I prefer defeating Chainmail and Dual Maul by defeating the mini-bosses in the center and south end of the dungeon. If you opt for this, the mini-boss you'll be dealing with is Emberlance, and she tends to do more group damage and tank damage. Chainmail tends to force player movement more often and applies a nasty bleed effect to players, and Dual Maul requires kicks and attempts to stun the tank and spawns copious amounts of swirls. Defeat whichever two you want. While there is still one mini-boss left, this is not the primary focus since Dailcry has significantly less health. The leftover mini-boss is really just there to add additional mechanics, but allow DPS to funnel damage since they do share health. The main mechanic of this fight will have players dodging the Hurl Spear cast. It's easy not to notice this animation, so keep your eyes peeled. Dailcry will also apply a really nasty dot to the tank through the Pierce Armor cast. Tanks, just be sure to use a large defensive here. Dailcry will then pounce on a random player, dealing high physical damage and mauling the target. DPS players need to quickly burn through the Absorb in order to interrupt this damage event. Last but not least, make sure you are interrupting the Battle Cry. If this goes off, it'll deal high group damage and make the mini-boss you are dealing with gain energy, which ramps up the cadence of their spells. Funnel damage in Dailcry and force him down. Braunpyke will start the fight by casting Hammer of Purity. This will target 3 random players, and I recommend stacking near the boss and then moving to the far side of the room whenever this happens, because it'll make dodging hammers way easier. Sacrificial Prior is then a staggered soak mechanic. Once the cast completes, players will need to take turns soaking until all of the orbs are depleted. Each soak will do a small group of burst damage, and then players soaking will take a pretty heavy damage in the form of a dot. Tanks that are comfortable can soak twice since there isn't really a tank buster in this encounter. Lastly, we have Castigator's Shield, and this will slow players by 50% and spawn large circles that you're going to want to get out of as fast as possible. This fight becomes more interesting though through Vindictive Wrath. Whenever the boss casts this, it'll amplify his damage done, but also empower his next ability, causing it to target 5 players instead of 3. While handling all of these mechanics, just make sure you're interrupting Burning Light whenever possible. Focus on dodge mechanics, and hopefully Baron Braunpyke falls sooner rather than later. Prioress Murrpray is a 2-phase encounter that has players dealing with an onslaught of light magic. First, she mostly spams Holy Smite. Kick this whenever possible. Shortly into the encounter, she will cast Holy Flame. Just be sure to dodge this swirl. Next, we have Purify. This will spawn a beam shortly after the cast that will fixate a player for a few seconds and leave pools in its wake. During this, the boss will then cast Blinding Light, which does exactly what it sounds like. Any player caught facing the boss when the cast finishes will be blinded for a few seconds, which can be problematic when being chased by the Purifying Beam. Last but not least, we have Inner Fire. This will buff the boss's damage for a few seconds and deal high pulsing group damage. This is the mechanic that the healer wants to prepare for. Once the boss hits 50% health, she will teleport to the top of the chapel and begin casting Embrace the Light, dealing high ticking group damage indefinitely until the shield is broken. DPS will want to try to bank some good burst damage for this shield. During this channel, fixating ads will also rush your group, dealing high physical damage if meleeed. CC and kite these mobs the best you can. If too many connect with a single player, they will surely perish. Luckily, they do bleed out over time, so kiting is the best solution. Once this intermission is over, the mechanics of P1 continue in this new area until Prioress Murrpray falls. And that's it. Congratulations on beating Priory of the Sacred Flame. If you enjoyed this video, I do make Mythic Plus guides for World of Warcraft, so feel free to subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Anyways, I hope you're all staying happy, healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.